Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Consumer Guide to Property Damage. Today we have Vince Perri with us. He's a public adjuster here in Florida, great firm called Elite Resolutions. So Vince, tell us today a little bit about what to ask when a consumer or homeowner is filing a claim. Because I think often people have no idea what to ask, right? They don't know what the first step is. They don't know where to start.
And
so
maybe
if you
we
can
go there, like, how do they even file a claim? Do
Yeah,
they call
where do
their
they start?
agent? Like, how does that happen?
So I like to say, I think the first step, like anything else, I used to be a part of B&I networking, and you have your,
B&I.
Oh yeah, of
That's
course.
old school.
And I always remember who was the attorney that deals with like the people who get injured, personal injury attorney. They're always like, call me first, I need to get the evidence, So I would like to say that they should call a public adjuster or a roofing contractor or somebody first with some knowledge as to exactly what's going on, because there may or they may not be coverage when a loss does occur.
Or it may not be damaged.
Or there may not be
like,
damage.
There's no point in filing a claim if there's not damage.
I used to tell people that I walk out of 50% of the houses that I walk into with a potential claim. Because either there's not enough damage, either there's no coverage, or it's just not worth filing. Because if you have...
And as a roofing contractor, we wouldn't know that there's no coverage.
Right.
We're only looking to see
If there's
legitimate damage that would warrant a claim being filed.
So the way the claim has to be filed is you either call the claims number, which is going to be on one of the first couple pages. It'll say claims department, 1-800, whatever it is, and you call the claims department directly. You could also call your agent to do it as well. I know we were having a discussion. You're going to want to try to, if you're going to file the claim on your own, you're going to want to call the claims department directly, because really the agent and the claims department are two completely separate things.
Yeah, I have found that most of the time when homeowners end up calling their agent first, either it feels like they then don't want to file a claim, or they have a lot more concerns than they do.
Discouraged in the process.
And somehow I'm not really sure how that works, but it just tends to go differently for them. And there's a lot of misconceptions, I think, out there in general for homeowners, like, whether or not their policy is going to go up and things like that, which we can talk about. But I know as a roofing contractor, when I'm asked, I always recommend that they call the claims department directly.
So I think people get confused because the agent is technically it's like their own business. So I think people get confused that the agent... I think some people think that the agent's not really working with the insurance company, when frankly they are an agent for the insurance company.
Correct.
So they may be discouraged to file a claim as well, or they may be discouraged for their client to file a claim. When you call someone like myself, like a public adjuster, although the initial reaction is going to be, we are encouraged to file a claim, sure we are, but for public adjusters, we get paid on a contingency.
Right.
So I don't get paid unless the claim gets paid. So it's the reason why I do walk out of half the houses that I walk into, because if I don't think there's a claim, then that means I'm not going to get paid either. So I'm not going to encourage you to file a claim. So
and as a roofing contractor, I think that, for sure. And obviously, there's a lot of fraud that exists in this industry, and we talk about that in some of our episodes. And it's really important for me and who I am and my company, and I know for Crystal and who she is, to not advise homeowners if the damage is not legitimate,
right.
And homeowners should be asking for pictures from their contractors or their public adjusters, and having somebody explain to them why it's damaged, so that they don't get caught in a situation where the insurance company comes out and they're like, no, this is
not what you think it is.
And we're really direct with people. Look, you have some damage. I don't know if it warrants a full claim. It's your home. It's your choice.
Absolutely.
But, I think that it's important to make sure that you're identifying things correctly and having an inspection, or, whether it's with a public adjuster or it's with a contractor that you trust and respect. Either way, I think that's critical.
I know for myself, we give every homeowner, if we find legitimate damage, we give them a full property inspection report with all of those pictures. It's just another piece of evidence that says we did find this. Submit this to your insurance carrier if you need to. But if you don't get one of those from us, there's a reason why.
Yeah.
It's because we didn't find that
Right.
there was anything legitimately damaged.
You know, I don't think anybody should be claim happy. You know, I know that
Agreed.
I've
I agree.
met homeowners that are just like, yeah, let's go, let's do it. And then I find out they've filed like 5 claims in the past. And I've always told people you should not file more than 1 claim every 10 years. And really, you shouldn't file more than 3 claims in your life.
Well, what if you're in places like Texas or Colorado or that get consistently
South
hit?
Florida.
That's a different story.
I think to generalize it could be hard. I think there are specific areas that might warrant more often.
Absolutely.
However, I do also know that there, unfortunately, are crooks in every industry, and sometimes there's bad contractors out there that are looking for an easy sale or something low hanging fruit, so to speak, right? And might advise a homeowner to file a claim when there isn't one. And homeowners need to know how to look for those things and how to protect themselves. And we will talk about that.
I'd be lying if I told you I've never been called by a contractor to go inspect a roof and to hopefully find a claim. And I go up there and just like,
There's nothing here.
Right.
There's nothing here.
And it's unfortunate. I mean, it's unfortunate that happens. And, it's like you said, there's bad players on every side of the industry.
Yeah.
But that's why we're doing what we're doing.
Exactly.
We really want, homeowners to be educated. So when they're making, or if they're faced with this situation, really, they have the ability to ask the right questions and make a great decision.
Yeah. And I think, from what I understand, the majority of homeowners still have the right to choose their contractor, right? Mm-hmm. They have the right to, choose a contractor that has a great reputation or
Absolutely.
is going to provide a detailed inspection report to them. And I think that that's really something that's important to know going into filing a claim. Now, I do understand that may not be the case everywhere in every policy, and again, we talk about that in another episode, but for the majority of people, they still have that right. Now, is that something that you would suggest a homeowner ask when they're looking at filing a claim? Can I choose my contractor?
I don't think it's necessary.
Okay.
It's kind of implied, unless there is that managed right to repair program that are being forced to them, then they're not allowed.
So at what point would they find out?
Yeah.
And I'm
review.
not going to go down. Okay, I was going to say I don't want to go down the road
right in the
necessarily
beginning.
of the MRPs.
MRP.
But how would they know that was in there? Would they have already filed a claim, and would they tell them during filing the claim?
No, they should know from the beginning. I'd say the first red flag is if you have an extremely low premium.
Oh,
If the
okay.
premium is low, which is the amount of money you pay.
What would be an extremely low
Oh,
premium?
that depends on the house.
Okay,
Like
so-
if you're looking at 3 different options and one is in particular much lower than the other ones,
Okay.
you're going to want to dig deeper into that one. And chances are it's MRP and they're sending out their own people, because I'm sure it's pretty obvious the reason why they have the MRP is I'm sure they save a lot of money.
Right.
Oh, absolutely.
And homeowners, if you've missed the episode on MRPs with Chip Merlin, please make sure that you go back and watch that. So there's a little bit of context here. I don't want to double up on what
Right.
we're talking about, but if you don't understand, again, just go back and find the episode with Chip Merlin and you'll be completely filled in and up
And
to
aware
date,
of
so to speak.
what we're talking about with the MRP.
Chip and I were just talking last week actually about it's more and more prevalent.
It is, and we'll talk about that because it can be a little bit unfortunate. So I think another thing is, when you look at an insurance company's estimate, right, that comes back to a homeowner and a roofing contractor's estimate, typically they don't match. And what are some things that homeowners should know or understand about why those why those two estimates are not going to match?
Well, first of all, the insurance adjuster that goes out to put to put the estimate together is more often than not a licensed contractor.
Makes sense.
So they don't necessarily know exactly maybe some new trends.
Or all the components even that
All
go
the
into
components
it.
I would say is most important, which is what I was going to get to.
Yeah.
So why would they send out someone that wasn't a licensed
That's a great
insurance
question.
adjuster?
No, I think you said contractor. A licensed
No, but I think I know what she's saying is why would they send out somebody who's not a contractor?
I think, because I think your words were that, often the person that goes out to put the estimate together is not a licensed insurance adjuster. Is that what you said? Or a contractor.
Right.
Sorry, I apologize. So if they're not a licensed contractor, how do we know that they're qualified to put that estimate together?
Right. I mean, it's an issue. It's an issue that we have, which is why personally for me, when I'm involved in a claim, I personally love to be side by side with a contractor.
Oh, okay.
Because we put our own estimates together. We have professional certified estimators that do it for us. That we send people to go out to do it. Some of them are licensed contractors, some of them are not. But I love to have what I call my expert by my side, which is a roofing contractor or whatever it is that we're dealing with, to sort of back it up. To sort of say, hey, yeah, this is what it is, this is what it's going to cost. Because when you were talking about it's the little things that the insurance adjuster will, I don't want to get too complicated, but they'll put a line item in and they'll say, well, all that stuff's included in that line item.
Oh, right.
And you and I know that it's absolutely not included.
Now, does your contractor have to use that same software that the insurance company uses?
So I like to say that if it's not in the policy, then absolutely not. And no, it's not. It's not the policy. The policy dictates everything.
Right.
Okay? It's like a gift.
It's a legal contract,
It's
right?
a legal contract, and we do our best to really use it against them, because if they're going to tell us all these things, well, I need to make sure that I see that in the policy if that's what you're going to say. So I have had insurance adjusters say, well, you need to send me an exactament estimate. And I tell them, well, where in the policy does it state that I have to do that? And it doesn't.
And a consumer can say the same thing, right?
Absolutely.
Like if for example, an insurance company says, hey, I need you to go get 3 different bids,
Right.
or
Doesn't say that in the policy.
you have to have your contractor's estimate approved prior to, and that language is usually in those first couple pages. Like, I know that when my mom filed a claim on her home, and this was prior to me being a roofing contractor, we've had a lot of conversations about it since, but I think it even told her that if it wasn't approved, she might not be covered for the additional expense, but it never said isn't. It's very interesting in the wording. And, I've been told by various attorneys that those pages that come out with the check or with the claim approval do not supersede what's in the policy. And is that true?
What do you mean in particular?
Like, for example, if they, get that letter that's, it's approval, and they comes back with the scope of loss, and then it says, if your contractor's estimate
is more, you could come back and you can show us.
You have to get it approved.
Pre-approved.
Or
well,
something.
I haven't seen that language. Usually it's what that's called an undisputed payment, which basically to the insurance company has said, hey, here's what we think it costs. If you hire a contractor or you get a public adjuster, you receive an estimate that's more than this, then please send it to us and we'll reevaluate it. But I've never seen the pre-approved.
Well,
and then what exactly
it says
is
that you may
pre-approved?
not be covered. Like, it's interesting. I don't know. I obviously, again, I'm not an insurance adjuster or a public adjuster or an attorney, so I don't completely understand that, and try to definitely stay in my lane as a roofing
I think this
contractor.
goes back to just the complicated nature of the entire thing. You may have received a letter like that. Maybe we haven't seen that yet. Or every single one is different. I mean, that's why we're constantly reading letters, we're reading policies, and sometimes...
But do those letters, like, if it says that, does it matter more what's in the policy or what that letter says?
Oh, I would always go to the policy.
Got it. Okay.
So the policy
Always.
dictates everything.
Dictates everything. If it's just a paragraph, that's not policy. I mean, it's an issue, again, that we're dealing with...
How long is a typical policy?
Oh, like 68 pages or so?
Okay, yeah, and I think that's important. I think most
That's the problem.
homeowners think their policy is about 10 pages.
2 to 3 pages is
Or-
what they always focus on.
Well, again, when they're getting sold the policy, they're also just usually getting the first 3 or 4 pages. If that, a lot of times they're just getting what the coverages are on like just a different document.
And so that's called essentially, I have had customers say, well, I have a binder. What is the binder? Is that just the first couple of pages? Because I've had people say, when I say, you need to ask your insurance agent, maybe they can explain to you what's in your policy. And they're like, well, I don't have a policy, but I have a binder. What is a binder?
A binder could be some like additional coverages to your policy. A lot of times a binder would be something for like if you have like rare and expensive artwork or something like that. That's like a completely separate thing.
Okay, perfect.
I think
I'm glad you explained that.
I think another thing that I hear a lot, at least from my customers, is that they're worried that if they file a claim on their homeowner's policy, maybe it's due to hail or wind or something else that they didn't have control over, that now their policy is going to go up.
Their premiums
like
are
an
going up
accident,
now.
right? Like a car accident,
Right.
which I try to explain, my understanding of my policy is an act of God, meaning
Right.
something I did not cause in any way, shape, or form. It's very hard for that to be held against me. Is that
Agreed.
the truth, or?
So first thing I always like to say is, you have a loss here. This is what you pay insurance for. Why wouldn't you file a claim? It's what you pay every single month, every 6 months, or every year. It's what you pay insurance for.
Absolutely.
File the claim.
Absolutely.
My second question is, well, over the last 10 years, have your rates gone up? 99% of the time, the answer is yes. And then the last thing I tell them, it's to answer your question, is by law, the insurance company's not allowed to do that. It's just literally not allowed. They are not allowed to raise your rates because you file a claim, because you hire a roofing contractor, because, my favorite one, you hire a public adjuster. Really, one has nothing to do with the other. But the point is that if a loss occurs, if the damage is there, you got to file a claim.
That makes sense. Now, I have been told that if maybe a zip code or a specific area is hit by a storm, that the entire area might go up, but it isn't directly related to whether or not
To
that
one single
particular
claim,
homeowner files
right.
a claim.
Look, it's all underwriting, ultimately, right? Underwriting determines risk, and if you are a homeowner that has filed 3, 4, 5 claims in the past year or two, guess what? You're probably going to get dropped. Your rates are going to go up because you are more risk than everybody else. If you live in an area that has experienced a significant amount of damage, or if you live in a place that's close to the water, your rates may go up, your rates may be higher than other people in different places. It's all like calculations.
I recently had a customer that called and upon filing a claim, legitimate damage from a actually pretty high windstorm, was missing shingles. They were laying in the yard. That was kind of her first alert that something was wrong. But she was told by her carrier representative when she was filing the claim that she could potentially be dropped for filing this claim. Is that accurate? Is that a true statement? I mean, should a homeowner be concerned about that?
I mean, she shouldn't be told that. I mean, I don't think so. Unless, I don't know the situation, and maybe she has filed previous claims. Maybe it is an area where there's a ton of claims. Maybe they're in that area. Who knows what the situation is.
Right.
But if it's your normal, just random person just wanting to file a claim because they experience a loss, I mean, I don't think that's what they should be told at all.
Okay.
That's what the insurance is there for.
Right.
Now, when they do file a claim, should they ask if their policy's changed since they purchased it, or if anything has happened? Because
I would do it before that.
You would.
I would ask that question before the actual claim occurs, because by the time you have to file the claim, it's too late.
Okay. Yeah, if you didn't know, it's what you have right now. Okay.
Right. So, if you're tuning in, make sure before you experience any type of a loss, call your insurance company and ask these questions now, so that you understand in advance if you can make any changes if you need to at your next renewal, so that you can kind of avoid some of these things that we're talking about in this series. Okay. Well, thanks, Vince.
That's
we really
great.
appreciate
Thank
you
you so
coming in
much.
again and helping us educate consumers on what to do when they experience property damage or some type of loss. And I hope that you have a fantastic rest of your day.
Thank you. And I want people to know, I've been doing this for 14 years.
Yeah.
I'm very prideful about what I do. I love what I do. My wife used to say that we're the Robin Hood. We're trying to do what we can for the people, for the disadvantaged people against the big, multi-billion-dollar companies.
Right.
And it's the reason why, if anybody wants any help, we do give the free policy reviews. We have 2 YouTube channels, a Commercial Claims Advocate, which honestly I have a lot of my clients that love the channel. It's geared towards contractors and public adjusters, but it's really just a lot of valuable information about what goes on behind the scenes. And then we just launched the new channel, Elite Claims Advice, which gives just strictly for policyholders. We're trying to do a lot of policy review there so that people could just go on their own and do it.
I love that.
If
That's
people
awesome.
want to come to me and ask me, that's fine, but I want to try to provide as much information out there so that maybe people could try to handle it themselves.
Yeah, and I think that's, obviously Crystal and I's goal as well is to
Right.
promote that consumer education and have consumers start to advocate for themselves. There's recent laws that have gone on in Florida, and like we were speaking earlier, like usually what happens in Florida eventually takes heed in other parts of the country. And we're putting people in office and things are being passed that negatively affect us as consumers. When I look at this industry, I don't look at it as I'm anti-insurance or anti-contractor or anything. I look at it strictly from a consumer basis because we are all consumers, no matter what
you do
for
outside
a living,
of that, right?
And these changes affect every single one of us.
Well,
And
when you were on my podcast, I think we discussed, I think it's funny, I try to always put myself in the insurance company's shoes.
Yeah, I do too.
I even tell my guys, when they're like, oh, they should pay this and they should pay that, I'm like, well, would you pay it if it was coming out of your pocket?
It's a great point of view to consider.
You know, ultimately, we're
all businesses.
We're all businesses, and
Yeah.
our business is a little bit different. I mean, when you do a retail job, you get paid by the consumer. But with me, I'm technically getting paid. I'm relying on the insurance company to come out of pocket. And if they're paying for all of these claims, then we have to make sure that they need to see the evidence. It needs to be what it is,
Yeah.
and we need to provide as much documentation evidence and understand the whole process.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks again. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for
Have
having
a great
me.
one.
Thank you.
Thanks.
See ya.